Coming up, hot and getting even hotter. How high will temperatures get this weekend? Business is booming while fair vendors say they're back. Plus, how a man survived lost in the wilderness for 17 days. Valley News Live at 10 starts right now.
This is Valley News Live at 10.
Good evening and happy Friday, everyone. The heat is on. This weekend will not only be filled with smoke, but a few more things to worry about. Let's head straight to meteorologist Nathan Hopper with the first look at the forecast. Nathan?
Yeah, thanks, Stacey. Happy Friday to you and happy Friday, everybody. Thanks for spending it with us here on Valley News Live at 10 o'clock. A beautiful look at our home of economy sky cam in Grand Forks of that setting sun. Some oranges and pinks there of that sun reflecting off of the haze we still have across especially the northern valley at this hour. What we are seeing, of course, is that air quality alert that does continue until noon tomorrow for our counties right up along the international border and our Red River Valley counties across Minnesota. Now, North Dakota does not issue air quality alerts, but still could see some hazy conditions, some unhealthy air for folks across North Dakota as well. Visibilities are reduced in Grand Forks, 8 miles. Thanks to that haze, we're still able to physically sense in the air with those visibility readings. But of course, Stacey, as you're saying, hotter for this weekend, so we'll talk about how hot it gets, but then even hotter next week. That full forecast coming up in a few minutes.
Thanks so much, Nathan. This weekend is jam-packed with fairs and festivals, and they're especially vital for the food vendors. Whether it's tasty cheese curds or tangy lemonade, these owners are finally getting some normalcy back in their lives. Valley News Team's Aaron Walling brings us the story.
It's getting busy again, so yes, that's normal in the summertime.
The Red River Valley Fair is full of people, rides, and music. But the air is heavy with the smells of fair food. Whether it's cheese curds or funnel cakes, these food vendors are getting back to a normal way of life.
Well, it's really validating to get back to normal and to see all the faces return with eager faces and smiles and hungers.
Some of these vendors rely on fairs and festivals to make a living. And having the fair return in a big way after dealing with the pandemic last year means a lot to them.
What I do in the summertime, so it's my job, my income, and see people that you don't see every so often, so it's good.
But at times when we're out here and it's going like normal, I almost did forget it for a while. It was nice to let that go because after a year and a half of what we went through, all of us, it seems like we would never let it go.
However, it's not just about the money for these owners. It's about the community they have built with the other stands as they provide food to fairgoers.
And I love my neighbors, all the other food vendors. We get to work together again. We're like a little community, you know, and have all this in common, and it's like a little village back here.
In West Fargo, Aaron Walling, Valley News Live.
Sunday is the last day of the Red River Valley Fair, and another fair going on, the Clay County Fair in Barnesville. It also runs through Sunday. Hundreds brave the heat today to come out for the second day, with many more festivities planned throughout this weekend. 34 fire departments across Minnesota and North Dakota traveled to Dalton, Minnesota this afternoon to pay their respects to Assistant Fire Chief Jason Kircher. Kircher died last week after hitting a deer while driving an ATV. He was a volunteer Dalton firefighter for 18 years, and one fire chief tells us this small town department has never experienced such a tragic loss of an active duty firefighter. Another firefighter says he's in awe of how many departments traveled to Dalton to honor Kircher.
It's a lot. I mean, you look around and you see all these trucks from way off, Dwight, North Dakota. I mean, we've never worked with them once. Here they are. So,
it's pretty special.
Right, very special.
Kircher leaves behind his long-term girlfriend and 2 children.
But I can guarantee you, we're going to continue to look until he's found. We are not giving up.
That's the sheriff up in Pennington County, where suspected murderer Eric Reinbold is still on the run. He's suspected of killing his wife Lisette last Friday. He's described as 5'7", 175 pounds, is balding with sandy brown hair. The sheriff's office is now asking you to check your property for anything suspicious or out of place. They believe he's in the area and on foot. If you see him, do not approach him and call 911. Some Minnesota families will be receiving money towards summer meals. It's part of the U.S. Ag Department's summer pandemic EBT program. Payments will be $430 per child that's eligible to receive free or reduced lunch. More children may receive benefits this fall, even if they weren't eligible during last school year. A federal judge in Texas has dealt a blow to the DACA program for undocumented immigrants. The program provides deportation protection for some people brought to the U.S. illegally as children. Today's ruling would bar future applications under DACA, but it does not immediately cancel permits for the hundreds of thousands of people already here. Water conservation is set to return to American showers. Barack Obama laid out new water efficiency standards as president. Former President Trump rolled them back. Now President Biden is attempting to go back to Obama's standards, calling for a 2.5 per minute maximum flow rate. The National Guard is at risk of losing soldiers and even shutting down if Congress does not reimburse the millions of dollars they're owed. Guard leaders say their annual training could be cut, soldiers may not get paid, and it could affect their ability to respond to natural disasters. One general says it's at the point where the funds need to be reimbursed or parts of the Guard will shut down. 2 men have been arrested in California for plotting to overthrow the government. Federal authorities say 45-year-old Ian Rogers and 37-year-old Jared Copeland discussed blowing up the Democratic headquarters in Sacramento because of the 2020 election. Prosecutors have text messages and documents outlining their plan. Both men are facing charges. Rogers also faces weapon charges after investigators found more than 50 firearms and 5 bombs in his home back in January. Senior Biden administration officials now find the COVID lab leak theory as credible as the natural origins explanation. They now believe that the theory that the virus accidentally escaped from a lab in Wuhan, China, is at least as credible as the possibility that it emerged naturally in the wild. It's a dramatic shift from a year ago when Democrats publicly downplayed the so-called lab leak theory. A miraculous story tonight about survival. An Oregon man was lost in the wilderness for 17 days. He says he did what he could to survive so he could see his wife again. David Ochoa has his story.
One more day. I wanted to get home to see her and so many others. I just wanted one more day.
Harry Burley got lost on a routine fishing trip near Twin Lakes in May when he decided to dash a trail.
Now it's time to go back. So I turn around and it's dark.
He quickly realized he'd be out there overnight. He found a log and some bark to use as shelter. He went looking for water but fell off a log, hit his head, and started bleeding.
And in an instant, everything became very serious. This was no longer just doing a hike.
Burley spent the next 2 weeks just doing what he could to survive. He used his pack and underwear as a beanie. He made a fire by using a magnifier his father-in-law gave him 40 years earlier. He ate bugs, drank dirty water off of trees and leaves, and even drank his own urine. The last couple of days, he says he accepted that he was going to die.
But it wasn't sad and there was no fear. There was a complete acceptance.
But then a miracle happened.
A big bellow.
I get a phone call and it's the deputy, and I had, so I'm going, okay, something's here, and silence, and he says, I've got some good news, and then, okay, and he says, and Harry's alive, and then I just broke down crying.
A search and rescue team had finally found him. They took him to Riverbend Hospital in Springfield, where he stayed for 15 days. He was malnourished, dehydrated, hypothermic, and had a blockage in his digestive tract.
My body was beat beyond what I thought it could give. My mind was stretched beyond what I thought I could do. But my life spark, that loving energy that we have within us, was filled.
He says he lost about 30 pounds in those 17 days. His body is finally turning a corner and getting back to normal. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada could start allowing fully vaccinated Americans into the country as soon as mid-August for non-essential travel. The Prime Minister added that if Canada's current positive path of vaccination rate continues, the border can open. He says Canada should also be in a position to welcome fully vaccinated travelers from all countries by early September. Still ahead tonight, how one Minnesota neighborhood has gone to the dogs.
And if you've got a tea time for your Saturday, those morning tea times looking very good. Temperatures there in the 60s, but those afternoon tea times have the water bottle handy. Upper 80s, lower 90s out on the links for your afternoon on Saturday, but even warmer weather on the way next week. I'll have your forecast next.